Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, which I'm excited to say we're now airing 5 days a week. Once a week, you can still hear an interview with a different consciousness change maker that is out there working tirelessly to help catalyze change and expand awareness on Spaceship Earth. But now, in addition to the weekly interview, on the other 4 weekdays, you can tune in to myself and my co-host Dalian taking questions from the audience, covering a bit of positive news, giving interpretations of a favorite quote to ponder, and you can hear us ranting about whatever other positive ponderings come to mind on that day. And as you guys might imagine, producing this podcast is definitely a labor of love for me and Dalian. But make no mistake, it takes a lot of hard work to put it together for you guys, especially now that we're doing it 5 days a week. So if you enjoy the fruits of our labor, please go over, give us a good rating and a review on iTunes. Subscribe for free while you're at it, of course, if you haven't done that already. iTunes truly is the holy grail when it comes to podcasting, and good ratings and reviews are what help our iTunes ranking so that we can gain more exposure in the massive sea of other podcasts that are out there. Even if you have terrible ADD and don't want to take the time to write out a review, trust me, I get it. I'm a bit of a spaz too, but please take at least, the 9.2 seconds it takes to give the show an honest star rating, which only takes one little click. I assure you it will be very much appreciated by us, and that the good karma gods will rain blessings down upon thee for doing so. All right, all you positive heads, welcome to another episode of the Positive Head Podcast. Hello, Dalian. Welcome back to the Positive Head Podcast, my co-host in Not Crime.
Hi, Brandon Beecham, my fearless host. And if I'm your psychic, what are you? My upkick?
Your psychic.
Kickstarter?
Oh,
I'm your
sidekick.
psychic.
I thought you said you're my psychic. I'm
your psychic sidekick.
Yeah, Dan is going to give me a psychic reading today. Do you foresee this is going to be a good podcast?
Yes, definitely. Now, that's my second psychic reading ever, and my first one had a 2% success rate, so
well,
I'm not exactly as successful.
Let's hope you improve your rate with this episode.
Yes.
So I want to jump right in. First, do you have anything exciting to mention starting off, or should we just jump right into? I have a quote that I'm excited about that I came across. So.
I've got something a little like that I could share in the bit of news that I could share. What would you like to talk about first?
Well, why don't we just take turns then?
Okay.
I'm going to start out with the positive pondering breakdown of the day.
Yeah.
Success is not something you achieve, it's something you choose. And this quote jumped out at me because, well, for one, I said it.
So you were like, some famous person said something. This is a quote,
actually. Typically we always, find a quote from some, Albert Einstein or some awesome, Alan Watts or some amazing person who said some amazing thing at some amazing time. And today, last night, I was sleeping, and this has been happening to me more and more, where all of a sudden I'll have a quote or something in my head when I'm kind of waking up in that in-between stage. And so I've started trying to keep a little notebook or something. And this is one that was just kind of in my head. And I woke up and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I wrote it down. And so I thought I would, put it out there today. And
share.
One of the ideas that I really, really like, I love the idea of course, synchronicity, because it's kind of, it's like a real-time, spontaneous, message from the universe. I love it when, say we'll talk about something, and then 10 minutes later or an hour later, that same thing is brought up in some unique way. And you see this kind of real-time kind of communication from the universe or from your higher self or whatever, however you want to look at it. And that's why I love featuring the stories of synchronicity on the show with my interviews. So this is kind of the same premise that I've thought of. And I can think of, there's someone out there who does, who communicate. There's a woman named Doreen Virtue. Have you ever heard of her?
Yes. We posted a great saying of hers on our Facebook feed this weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't recall that. but Doreen is, I believe she is a channel, like an angelic, she communicates or claims to communicate with angelic entities. I don't know how valid or invalid that is. I find it very interesting and very open to the concept, of course, and have no reason to believe she isn't in communication with some higher part of self or angelic entities or whatever you want to call it. And she does something that's cool, that I really like, where she'll do a card reading of the day, and she says she meditates on it beforehand, that the right card will come up for the people that actually read the post, and then she'll give kind of a breakdown of the card. So I just love that sort of thing. I've talked about notes from the universe as well. We had a cool synchronicity last week with me, talking about a toga on the show randomly, and then the very next morning, my note from the universe was toga, toga, toga in the headlines, and then it went on with some great message. So I love it when there's that sort of connection and real time communication of sorts. So that's one of the things that I've set the intention to do, is to come across a quote that is really going to speak to a person that happens to be listening to the podcast, or all the people rather that are listening to that podcast. And I think when you put out that sort of intention to the universe, hey, I want to be open for the right thing to come through or come across my computer screen, or in this case, in my mind when I'm half asleep, or, I just want to be a channel, a receiver of the right thing at the right time, so that the people that happen to tune into this are, it's a very timely message for them. So that's something that I've really been giving a lot of thought to and meditating on. And, I was really excited when I woke up with some random quote in my head. So to break down the quote, success is not something you achieve, it's something you choose. And it goes back to, and of course, a lot of times with the show, we're talking about things that, we're circling the same subjects over and over and over again. And so the reason is it is a daily conscious effort. And I've said that it's a reason for me wanting to do this show, is to constantly reminder. It's like food for the soul. When you're taking in this information, we're rewiring our brains together. Me talking about it, you listening. And so it's a process that we're all going through. And this isn't so far off of other things that we've said, but success is not something you achieve. It's something you choose. Most people are going about their life, doing something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like happy. And as I've said, you be something like happy, you'll find yourself having and doing the things that actually make you happy. And so I think there's such a big misconception that you have to, how much success can I achieve? Or how do I go about achieving success? Through what actions can I take? And that's something that I know I can relate to strongly, and having struggled with at times. It's like, what do I do next? What do I do next to achieve success? In my own personal life story, that's been, what do I do next? How do I get there? And it's really something that you choose as an internal state, previous, way before you see it show up in your reality. And if you can start just, once again, like we talk about, vibrating with that idea, resonating with the idea that you are a success. It's not if, but when. It's how it's going to show up. And you choose that state prior to actually seeing it in a way that the average person would consider, like material success is one of the biggest out there. And it's not something that you achieve. It's something that not that you achieve externally. You achieve it internally first. Every person who's achieved it externally, whether they realize it or not, has achieved it internally on a level, at least, that has caused them to resonate with the vibration of having that external success. They may not understand that they're doing. They may not, think anything about law of attraction or any of this sort of thing. But nonetheless, I guarantee if you could look into their minds and look at the energy that they've been emitting, the frequency, the vibration that they've been offering to the universe, it's been one of, I'm going to be a big, there's probably a lot of ego in it with a lot of people. It doesn't, the law of attraction is going to work no matter where you're, it's not necessarily the spiritual concept, right? It is just, it's just a law of, just like the law of gravity or any other law that guides this universe. And so, it's something for those of you out there who are scrambling to figure out, how do I achieve success? What do I got to do to achieve success? If you can just stop trying to do something to get success and start feeling successful. Start being successful now, feeling what it feels like, and focusing on the things that you have been successful at. Those those small victories we've talked about before, finding focus on the small victories, That's a super important lesson for people because they're so hard on themselves. We all can be so hard on it, so self-critical that I haven't done more. I should be more. I should be better. And you are enough exactly as you are right now. You are a success just being here. It's not something that you need to achieve. You're already a success. You've been successful. So choose more of it by choosing to focus on the success that you've had and also understanding that it is something that if you can sit there and resonate with success and feel what it feels like, in that moment, you're successful. Right then and there, you just achieve success. Now you just need to do that more. That's it.
That's very well said. That's exactly right.
So it took me a while to get to that, but that's really, if you want to boil it down, close your eyes, drum up the feeling of being successful. Congratulations, you're successful. Do that more, and you will see lots of that quote unquote achieved success mirrored back in your reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree fully with, it makes me think that perhaps here at the Positive Head podcast, we can actually perform a small, but possibly actually huge, valuable service to our listeners if we redefine one thing in their lives or in all of our lives. Even if it's a small thing, if we redefine a new thing every day, then we could make that into one of the things that we do here daily. But for example, that's a huge one that I see many people instinctively redefining in their lives, what success means to them. And you see so much of that now. I've just seen a couple of instances just within the last couple of days that speak very much to what you just said. And it's something that I recognize is true in my life. I saw something in our Facebook feed recently. One of us put it up there. A quote regarding making art. And that's one thing that I was going to quickly mention to you because of course, I'm aware of your success in business, but as we've known each other for a long time and we've both been trying to sort of make it or succeed in the music scene, right? Mm-hmm. And we have achieved some degree of success there, but that's proven somewhat harder to come by. And yet we, of course, I can think of many instances in this quote that I'm referencing now spoke to this, the fact that as an artist, if you pursue your art in some very real measure, you're already being successful. And if you're someone like an artist like myself, for example, that may work a day job and think, I can't wait till the day I have enough money to, quit my day job, pursue my art full time, right? So many times you'll hear an instance of, well, you don't have to wait until that day. You can begin doing that now. And in a very real sense, that's success because you're doing what you love. And that's one of the other things that I understand about success now is how many people are redefining it to mean doing what they love for a living. Yeah. I've heard so many instances of people who are successful in any given field you can think of, and they will be successful in that external sense, right? They will have the money that they, of course, thought they wanted. They will have the recognition. But if it's not something that's bringing them joy, then they find it very puzzling to have all the outer trappings of success and yet not be happy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Jim Carrey who said, I wish everyone could be a big Hollywood star or hugely successful so that they could see that's not where it's at. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think so many people get caught up in chasing this idea and it's not really, it's not where it's at. It's not where it's at. And I think, you make a very good point because we probably do have a lot of artist listeners and there are so many artists out there and we learned that lesson the hard way, didn't we? I mean, Dalen and I were in a band that broke up, a little over, about 10 years ago now, but we were together for 8 and it started off as if you recall, it started off as so much fun for us. And then, we got more and more serious as we got a development deal with a major label back when they really mattered. And, we were getting, bigger and bigger crowds at our shows and things like that. It got more and more like, we've got to make it somewhere. We got to make it to this next level. And it took this great, wonderful creative process and made it not as fun. And we put all this pressure on ourselves and, we achieved some level of success in many regards, but yet even that wasn't enough. It was just like, and now I can look back and say, wow, you should have been just doing it for the pure joy of it. And when you get caught up in, achieving a certain result, that's the kiss of death. You don't need, you do what you're doing because you love to do it, especially when it comes to like an art or something like that. And the more authentic and the intention being pure that is with whatever you're doing, the more the irony is then the success comes from that. I believe is when, someone is really being, in the purest truest form of themselves.
Absolutely. Very, very good quote, Bran. Very good thought, positive pondering to offer our audience today.
Yeah.
I came up with a little something in a somewhat similar fashion to what you did. I have been writing a few blogs on the site that were, basically original thoughts of mine. So I have something like that today that I can share.
Okay.
There's a Paulo Coelho, the wonderful Brazilian writer, who has a little quote from one of his writings that speaks to what I want to talk about. His quote goes, "It's a good idea always to do something relaxing prior to making an important decision in your life." Okay. And my thought is one that, of course, I was just sort of kind of like what you just said. I was actually lying in bed trying to fall asleep last night. And I was just sort of relaxing, listening to some wonderful chill music. And as I'm achieving a, pretty nice deep state of relaxation, I thought, this thought came to my mind. Conscious, intentional relaxation is something a great deal of people could use more of in their lives.
Amen.
Yeah. and the thing about that stuck out so much to me this time was that my sleep patterns that are a little all over the place, and I generally don't have too much trouble sleeping, but I for sure can get a little restless. And if I get excited about something or whatever, it'll be maybe a little tough for me to fall asleep. Right. But what this whole thought brought to my mind so strongly was the fact that we all need to really make the effort to set some time aside every day to consciously go there, because sleep will not do it. We need, all of us need plenty of sleep. That's just a necessity that we can't deny. That's one thing that I'm, of course, working on as well. But conscious relaxation does something for your body and for your being.
For your brain.
Yeah.
This is all the proof with meditation, right?
Exactly.
It's rewiring your brain. And for someone like me who kind of wakes up and is like, amped and I eat. Any of my friends who have dinner with me are like, "Man, you eat so fast." And it's like, I talk fast, I eat fast. It's kind of like this tool that serves me in a lot of ways to get things done. And I'm kind of hyper and, but at the same time, it's also like a certain tension that's always there. And when I spend time meditating, it really, really helps to bring me down to a normal level where there's not that sort of chaotic energy at all. And I think that's something that, I know someone like, I can only speak really well for myself. It's so helpful to take the time. And it's something that I've been really, thinking about a lot more lately. So I'm glad that you brought that up. That's,
yeah, no. I have a feeling that a lot of people will be able to relate. And, of course, a more sort of spazzy personality, as you refer to yourself often. I would have to think of myself as a more sort of chill kind of person. But I think that a great deal of people, whether you are much more naturally energetic or much more sort of naturally laid back, a lot of us just don't process this intense energy in our daily lives in the healthiest way. A lot of times we either just absorb it into our body, or we turn it into mental and emotional energy. And that becomes stored in the body one way or another, I think, anyways. But even though I don't know any enlightened masters, I can imagine that any beings like that out there, they can be in the midst of any kind of turmoil and they'll just flow with everything, right? Like everything's just this sort of, like we were saying yesterday, breath being so important. Everything is just this, everything just sort of flows through you, right? And just doing that already gave me like a slight tingle. Like,
yeah,
ooh.
well, I've heard it said that when you take a deep breath, you're expanding how much you can actually carry, how much you can absorb, how much you can deal with. So it's all a reflection of one another. So as your breath expands, great. Right now, the way most people are living, they're breathing really, breathing this really shallow. And then they're always in this frantic state and they can't deal with things. And whereas if you deep breath, all of a sudden you've instantly taken your ability to cope with all the many myriad of things that life will throw your way. You can now you can carry and deal with much more smoothly. There's actually an old Zen saying, thinking about being too busy, and especially someone like myself, it's easy to think, oh, I'm too busy. I got things to do. I don't want to slow down. And it's the old Zen saying is, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day, unless you're too busy. Then you should sit for an hour.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
It is such a good one. It's such a good one. So cool. Yeah. So today we both got a chance to talk a little bit about a quote and something that inspired us there. So that's awesome. How about a story? What do you got as far as an inspiring, positive story of the day.
Angelic chimes.
Oh, that was the manual angelic chime.
Yeah, that was the doubled studio double.
Emmanuel chime.
Oh, I see what you did there. Clever wordplay.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yes, I have a story I can talk about, a couple of things that I can talk about, and a few of the stories that I've been coming across are very much related to medicine, spirituality, and our new understanding of what those things mean. Mm-hmm. But I will talk today about Dr. Weiss, Dr. Robert Weiss up in New Jersey. He's got a farm up in Long Valley that's called the Pharmacy. That's Pharmacy, okay? And Dr. Weiss had a successful practice as a MD for a number of years. But he became more and more interested in diet as something that is just tremendously a huge factor in our health and well-being overall. And of course, coming from the, you could say, traditional Western medicine angle, he saw the ways in which Western medicine falls short. So he started to connect some dots, and he thought, well, perhaps my contribution to the field of medicine can be in diet. One of the things that sticks out so much reading this story here is how I was just watching the Thrive documentary that, of course, we had a whole podcast episode dedicated to. Mm-hmm. And there was a quick mention there of your average medical doctor in the Western world receiving something like one course in diet and nutrition out of 6 years of medical school? One course.
Wow.
That amounts to I think something like 5 hours, they said. And something that just seems vastly off, and of course they make a quick mention to the fact that the course is basically sponsored by I don't know, Monsanto or these companies that are actually selling us their GMOs. Yeah. So the connection is a little too obvious and to miss. So Dr. Weiss is already successfully treating a lot of people, like this 90-year-old patient suffering from congestive heart failure, and herself and her daughters were diabetic as well. He helped turn their diabetes around and helped turn this lady's heart condition around with diet. He told her something like, I can get you admitted to the hospital now, or you can let me feed you sweet potatoes and kale. And of course, he managed to convince this lady that might be a preferred alternative.
Yeah.
But he
been getting cut open and dissected.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's incredible because, of course, this guy is putting some actual experience and medical knowledge to great use here. He's saying, of course, I'm not saying that I'm going to treat your fracture with, a balm of mugwort. You should go see a doctor for that. But he's saying he's just aware of how diet and what we intake into our bodies is such a large part of the equation that it might as well be the biggest part, really.
Yeah.
And it goes back, like the article mentions here, to the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
The Hippocrates quote.
Who's like one of the oldest, I guess, doctors from Greece, right?
Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Something that I'm also trying to put in practice in my life, and I have to say that thanks to you.
He was born in 460 BC, so it took us 2,500 years to come back around to start realizing.
Yeah, and only on matters of diet.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, yeah, that's really encouraging. I'm seeing and hearing more and more stuff like that. My mother is a great example. She's someone who had diabetes, has had a chronic stomach problem for years. She found a holistic doctor here, in Southern California. She started going to a few months ago, and after years of issues, I mean, bad stomach pain, he said, it's this bacteria. It's, he diagnosed it. She's like, well, why didn't, all these doctors I've seen over the years do anything about this? He's like, well, it's a lot, they make a lot more money doing things this way instead of, he basically is, given her a bunch of different, herbal remedies to use and food, talked about what she should and shouldn't be eating. And now, within 2 months, her stomach is completely healed after 10 years of problems, or I won't say completely healed, but darn close. She's no longer taking insulin for her diabetes, all from taking herbal remedies and eating the right food. So, next time you see a pill advertised, that's going to fix everything besides giving you a heart attack, giving you a stroke, and causing all your limbs to possibly fall off.
Right.
You know that food is your medicine. Food is what the body is made to regulate and fix itself, given the right tools. And like you said, it's a great point. If you have a fractured leg or something crazy, there are instances where you need to see a doctor. But for a lot of things like what my mother's dealing with, or some of these heart conditions, heart disease, one of the most influential movies that I've ever watched that caused me to stop eating meat was Forks Over Knives. And that documentary basically showed studies where, and there was one really major study in China where, people eating, they would know what people were going to have as far as cancer or heart disease based off of whether that region of the country had, was meat-based proteins mainly or vegetable-based proteins. And great examples like I remember Nazis had invaded a country that had I forget which country they had invaded. I haven't seen the movie in a couple of years now, but I definitely recommend you guys going and checking it out. They had come in and invaded. When they did, they took all their meat and dairy and everything and gave it to their armies. After 5 years or so, the war's over, and during this time, they all had to switch to plant-based proteins. And then after the war was over, the country went back to, having all their meat and dairy and stuff again. And you can look at the chart of heart disease and cancer. It was really high in the few years before Nazis came in because they had just started really having a lot of that stuff in the decade prior. Then it took a huge plunge, cancer and heart disease, after the Nazis took it all from them. Then after the war was over, spiked right back up. So that was a really interesting example. And what a lot of people don't realize is the body actually heals itself. Like in the movie, one of the main doctors, he looks at a colleague at the university where he worked or what have you. I forget who the colleague was exactly, but he looked in as part of the documentary. They done a scan on this guy and could see that he had major blockage in his arteries and things like that. So he switched to an all plant-based diet. They took pictures, however many months later, year later, whatever it was, and that blockage had completely undone itself. And you can actually see the pictures before and after. And it's like people a lot of times think, oh, it's too late for me. The damage has been done. No, the body actually heals itself. It actually reverses these problems. If you give the right medicine, food, you can undo everything from diabetes to heart, problems to, heart disease. It's all... we regenerate the cells in your body, every 7 years or so? So 7 years from now, every cell will have regenerated itself and I'll be a completely new human sitting here. I mean, it's pretty wild when you realize this, how it goes with everything else that we talk about. All we all are so disempowered about our medicine, our health and creating our reality and success and all these things. And really, that's all like misinformation. It's just like the wrong things have been put in front of us. We actually hold all the power. How hard is it to plant a garden and eat eat food? I mean, obviously, if you live in an apartment, that makes it tougher. But there's a lot of people who have land and access to land, and you can grow a lot. And of course, there's more and more innovative ways that are coming up as well for people to grow a lot of food in a small area. I know, where is it in France now, where you've got to put a garden on top of every building, I believe, or something like that, which is super cool. Yeah. To see some of these countries that are really, on the forefront of, switching the paradigm that we currently have. And so it's super exciting to see.
Yeah, this can be done. I saw recently that since the whole problem with bee colony collapse, the whole problem with our bees dying off in somewhat mysterious ways, and this little crisis that's been going on for a few years in places like New York City, of course, one of the biggest, most crowded cities in the world. There's been sort of a surge of urban apiculture, which is cultivation of bee colonies, right? And hives that are kept for commercial purposes. But they're doing that a lot in New York City, apparently, even in I don't know, I think famous hotels like the Waldorf Astoria, where they have their own bee colony on premises. It's on the roof of the hotel. And, that's by far the only, not the only case. So, yeah, places like New York that are dealing with, of course, limited space and congestion, things like that, they're finding ways if they're finding a way to keep, I don't know, dozens of bee colonies in the city to provide themselves with honey and to help, preserve the bees and whatnot, then yeah, we can do, just like you said, we can do it all. We can find ways to address problems in urban areas, and we can find ways to boost our immune system, of course, like you said. And all these things point to, a few conclusions that are very obvious now, which are, among others, that the body has tremendous regenerative capability. The body and its immune system are really the key to health. And if we boost our immune system, we can, like I said, cure ourselves of virtually anything.
Right. And especially when you start combining your understanding of creating your reality with thought, with the action, taking the right action. And I think this goes with what you were talking about earlier as well, taking time to really calm down and meditate every day. If you don't have time, that's when you need to do it the most.
Yes.
But going with that is exercise. Our body is designed to do physical exercise. And if you're having trouble sleeping and things like that, a lot of times it's because your body's not getting out that energy that it needs to. So it's just a combination. And when you combine all these simple things, they have such a tremendously powerful impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the picture that emerges from all that is a somewhat holistic picture of, proper diet, proper exercise, proper sort of basic techniques and routines for, self-care and well-being, right?
Balance, right?
Yeah.
Balance. Find that balance. Okay, so I want to share, you shared a story there that's very positive and inspiring. I want to share a little bit of mind expansive news, something that is, I love the positive paranormal kind of stuff. And I came across a story that's really interesting. Don't know if it's real or not, but it's a really cool, interesting story. And I've seen it posted a couple times over the years, and it just recently came across my feed again. So I was actually looking into it. I couldn't find anything saying that it was a false story or anything like that. But I actually checked this one out. It was let's see, it was on beforeitsnews.com. I found this version of it, but I've seen it, like I said, a few times before. The story is called The Man from Taured, and it goes, or that's how they title it here anyway. So I'll just read it right off of, this is from beforeitsnews.com. On a seemingly normal day in 1954, a seemingly normal man allegedly flew into Tokyo, but upon landing at the Tokyo International Airport, his seemingly normal trip had taken a very drastic turn for the weird. When he handed over his passport to be stamped, the man was immediately interrogated as to the whereabouts of his origins. It wasn't a case of racial profiling. While his passport looked authentic, it listed a country no one had ever heard of called Taured. The mystery man claimed his country was located between France and Spain, but when he asked to point it out on a map, he pointed to the Principality of Andorra. I've never heard of that either. Insisting, so I might have mispronounced it. He insisted he had never heard of Andorra and that Taured had existed for 1,000 years. He claimed that he was in Japan on business, something he'd been doing for the past 5 years. His passport seemed to back up his story as it was covered in previous customs and visa stamps, and he carried with him legal currency from several European countries. He even had a driver's license issued by the mysterious country and a checkbook containing checks from an unknown bank. After more interrogations and confusion for both parties, the traveler was sent to a nearby hotel until an official decision could be reached. There, 2 immigration officials stood outside his hotel door until morning. It was then they discovered the mystery man had vanished without a trace, which was troubling since the only possible exit was a window with no ledge 15 stories above a busy street. The Tokyo Police Department conducted an extensive search, but continually came up empty-handed. Hopefully, if he really was from a parallel Earth, he was able to find a way back to the comfort of his home in Taured. Isn't that a trip?
Yeah, that's an exciting story.
Yeah, that's such an insane story. Who knows if it's real or not? Not claiming it is or it isn't, but I found it, very fascinating. And I certainly find the concept of parallel Earth timelines very fascinating. I mean, if you think about it, it just makes all the sense in the world. And of course, M theory and string theory and all these, very popular theories in quantum physics kind of lend themselves to the idea that there's all these alternate versions of reality that we're just not seeing. And it makes total sense when you also look at the concept of, God, eternity, being all things and infinite, right? Well, it would play out every possible scenario that you could think of, and even the ones you couldn't, right? Infinite abundance, eternity, you would play out every single thing, and it makes total sense, and something that we've talked about many times before, and it's something that I always, whenever I'm thinking about attracting or creating anything in my life, I always think of, well, there's probably a version of reality where it does happen, where it doesn't happen, and everything in between. So I want to try and resonate with seeing the version of reality where it does play out the way I want to see it. So in this case, it's even getting more further removed, where it's like different countries and different, characters. And so, yeah, just a fascinating, fun, just thought that was a fascinating, fun story to share with you guys.
It is definitely fascinating. And yeah, it's not so far-fetched to think that it could really be, I was thinking, kind of laughing to myself here, that I won't call myself a fully gullible person who will just believe anything, but I was thinking, if anything, I'm maybe a little bit of the opposite of a skeptic, in that I am someone who is willing to at least acknowledge the possibility of just about anything, because in my mind, anything is truly possible.
Sure.
And why wouldn't it be, when my model of reality is that this is a consciousness and probability-based universe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Consciousness is information, right? Yeah. And like you said, consciousness being sort of the base reality. If I am being a pure creative consciousness and I have all eternity to play, what else am I going to do but sit there going like, okay, let me devise a scenario and then let me play out infinite ways how that can occur, right? Over time, which doesn't even exist, right? So I just have this endless amount of time to play out infinite scenarios.
Right. And you would fall into the same category with John Lennon, who said, I believe in everything until it's disproved. So yes. I believe in fairies, the myths, the dragons. It all exists, even if it's in your mind. Who's to say that dreams and nightmares aren't as real as the here and now?
Oh, that's a good one. Did you just dig that up?
I just dug it up while you were talking because I thought of it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's what he said. What he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Of course, John Lennon, always just terrific at that sort of thing.
Well, looks like, man, where did time go? It got away from us. I wanted to get to a question today, but we're getting up there in time, so I think I'll hold off because this question is going to be a good one to probe into, so maybe we'll look at it tomorrow or the next day.
Give it its proper due.
Yeah, exactly. And for all you guys out there listening, please write us a question, thought. What do you think about this? Hit us with something. It's very easy. Just drop us a line through the website, or you can even record a voicemail on the podcast page of the website. And as always, please remember to, like us on iTunes, subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends and family. Definitely appreciate that. Quite a few people have been doing that lately, and that's very much appreciated. Thank you guys for helping us to spread the positivity. And for those of you that have yet to do it but will, thank you in advance. We really appreciate it. Otherwise, Dan, do we have something that we want to leave the crowd with today to listen to as we exit?
I don't know. We could dig a little something up.
Yeah. Well, why don't we leave one of my favorite producer, Bonobo. Leave a track off of Bonobo for those of you out there listening to ponder upon and enjoy. Let's see here. Let's pick a song real quick. So thanks again for listening, everyone. We're going to leave you with a song off Bonobo's latest album, The North Borders. And it came out actually a couple years ago now, but one of my all-time favorites, my favorite producer. This song is called First Fires. Thank you guys again for listening. And remember, as long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Be well, everyone.
How do you see it?